Hey now, D2 sports fans. We're glad you can join us for another episode of the DII Nation Podcast. I'm your co-host, Wayne Cavadi, and joining me as always is the great Bethany Bowman. Welcome back, partner.
Always good to be back. Thanks so much, Wayne.
Of course. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it is crunch time. It is March. It's the month that we all wait for in the D2 basketball season. There's just a few days remaining before the selection committee locks itself in a room and tries to fill out that 64-team bracket we've all been waiting for. There are a lot of teams on the bubble that many of these conference tournaments can shake things up in.
It has been a very wild season, so trying to predict what happens this week or even what the bracket will look like is no easy task. One thing that we do know, though, as usual, the Drury Panthers are right in the hunt for another D2 women's basketball tournament. Joining us today is the Panthers head coach, Amy Eagan. Welcome to the Nation, Coach.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, we're excited that you're here. We're partially excited because of all the success you have, but you're also another coach that we've had. The last few coaches we've had on have gone from D2 student athlete to D2 coach. So it's a really fun little story. So one of those things that we want to talk about is kind of how you came to D2 in the first place as a player. And before you do, let's just let our listeners and viewers know you're looking at someone that's the fourth all-time leading scorer in Truman history and the all-time leader in steals and assists. So you were a very good student athlete back in the day. What drew you to D2 women's basketball and Truman in particular?
Yeah, well, when things were a lot different, obviously, when I was growing up, and I'm not trying to date myself at all, but, we didn't have social media. Recruiting was different without having social media, those kind of things. I grew up about an hour from Truman. And, I even remember, me and my dad, because I had some opportunities to play at a higher level, but I knew for me, my number one thing, which kind of sounds a little bit crazy, but I wanted to stay close to home. Staying close to home was just something really, really important to me. And so when I was looking at some of even the D1s and kind of going from there, I just knew what really mattered to me is I wanted to be close to my family. I'm one of 5 kids and just grew up really close with them. So that was really important. And a big reason I chose Truman. Another reason is, from my freshman year in high school to my senior year in high school, I played a major role, and I wasn't going to be okay sitting the bench. That just wasn't who I was. I knew what I wanted. I wanted to have the opportunity to play immediately, not that anything's guaranteed. And Truman was definitely in a rebuilding phase at that point with a new coach coming on board and everything. So I liked the opportunity that I had there to possibly play as a freshman.
So then after your playing time, you returned to your alma mater as head coach. Naturally, you rewrote the record book and, for wins and winning percentage by a head coach. What was that experience like coaching at Truman, and how hard of a decision was it to
make? It was special. I mean, I think that's a really good way to put it. I think it was special in regards to I already kind of knew what Truman was about. Truman's a very academic school. And so when you talk about recruiting a different type of student athlete, that's what you do there. You recruit a different type of student athlete, so one of the first things we looked at was ACT, and so I think, being there, I think it was just really special because I played there. And, I still say, Truman's home, that's we went there and played this year, and it's just home. The people there are home. I love it. But, the opportunity to come and possibly take over a program that not just like recently has been good, but the history and the historical historical significance of this program has just been outstanding. And so the opportunity to come here and take over a program that eats, drinks, sleeps women's basketball. There's no doubt about it. Whether you're talking about the fans or you talk about the boosters, the winning, all that kind of stuff. I think it's a very, very special place at Division II.
Yeah. So here, and your old assistant is now the head coach at Truman too, right? So you get a little bit of, that's got to be exciting too when you go back there. But you're at this conference rival. Like you said, Drury, your first year there as the assistant, it was undefeated run. And then 2020 happened, so we didn't get to see how it ended. And then the next season, you become head coach. make it to the championship game. Oh, and you're also named WBC Coach of the Year. It's just like wherever you go, you do something incredible. Just recently, you won your 50th game as a Panther, which is a good milestone, but you did it in 56 games, right? Like, it's just amazing. Let's talk a little bit about your time with the Panthers, starting as that assistant coach role to now, where we are now, heading into the GLVC tournament.
Absolutely. Well, I think it definitely helped, when I took over, that I already have relationships with the kids. So I think already having those relationships and the kids knowing me and knowing who I was as a person first, I think helped with the transition. And when you talk about just a group of kids that just wanted to win and whatever it took to win, I mean, that's what they wanted. I think we just had that trust amongst each other that, they just trusted anything that I told them because we already had a relationship with it. So I think last year, that was a big part of it, and I also think they felt like they had something to prove last year. When you graduate, Deja Bernard and Haley Distelkamp, I mean, those kids are irreplaceable. They're two kids that wrote history books here, because they have their talent and how good they are. So I think a lot of people thought that last year we were going to really drop off without those two. And so I think in our kids' minds, they had some motivation there that, hey, let's show everybody that we can still, we can keep this thing going, that we can still play, even though we lost two very, very good players. And, a lot of kids too, when you play in a championship program, you have a lot of talent, you have a lot of kids that can do a lot of things. And sometimes when they're younger, they're asked to play a different role until somebody graduates. And I think a lot of that happened too, whether it was Paige, waiting for her turn, or, Emily Parker, Isaiah Lynch. I mean, a lot of those kids were kind of playing behind kids that were so talented. And then when it was their opportunity, they were ready to shine.
So just a quick follow-up, like thinking about this in the grand scheme of things, you started playing your basketball as a student athlete. I mean, in your career from player to now has spanned a long time. And D2 on the women's basketball court has become so much more competitive, right? Like, just look at your season this year, how hard it was to get to GLVC. What changes in the game itself have you seen from that time, from the point you started till now?
Yeah, I think there's been a lot, specifically, I would say like style of play almost. I think when I started, a lot of style of play used to be, at least one low post player, if not two post players, and three guards. And then it kind of transitioned to four guards and one post. And now I think you're seeing a lot of five guards out there, and I think in our league, there's not a lot of teams that have true back to the back post players. Most people are playing five guards with maybe their fifth guard being 6 foot, 6'1", or maybe 6'2", and then kind of on down from there. So I think that's probably been the biggest transition. A lot of those forwards and post players now can shoot it, can handle it, where before they were stuck a lot with their back to the basket. So I definitely think that's been the biggest change in women's basketball at our level and kind of the style of play of stuff.
So this season in particular threw you a few curveballs between COVID and losing Paige Robinson, one of our earliest guests here on the show, for a significant time. The Panthers lost 4 games, and it sounds silly, but for Drury, that's a lot. How did you combat those challenges, and how impressed are you by how this team has responded?
Yeah, I mean, I'm so proud of the team first and foremost, to be able to go through what we went through. I mean, it's not easy when you lose the Division II Player of the Year and the time that we lost her, and then trying to figure out, we had 4 games that the week we came back after Christmas when we knew she was going to be out. We had 4 games in 7 days, and it's hard to really figure things out exactly in practice when you don't have a lot of time. But so it kind of takes some game stuff. So then I think we got kind of on a roll, but definitely a big difference when you lose the Division II Player of the Year, and then we had one of our other best guards had COVID and was out for a couple weeks. So it's been a different year again in regards to all that, but it's also been, I think, really, really good for us. I feel like, when you go through a lot of that, you learn a lot about your kids, you learn a lot about your team. you can grow in many, many areas. And I think our team did that this year. And so I'm really, really proud of how they handled all of that. And we knew, at any point with COVID too this year, it could still be the same thing as last year. You never know. So everybody's got to be ready to step up. And I think they did that really, really well. It's crazy that we lost 4 games and, our kids sometimes feel like they failed when you're 28-4. And I think that just, credits the history of the program here and how good it's been here. And I definitely don't view it as that, with it. And I think it's some great opportunities to learn. But sometimes people forget that, 4 losses is really still not that much. But the expectations here are just really, really high. And so I think we've had to kind of talk about some of that because our kids struggled with a little bit of that. But, just putting things in perspective for them and really just talking them through things, I think that helps. And we do a lot of that.
Yeah. I want to talk about 3 of these players because the whole team's incredible. You have a lot of depth, but what's it like to coach Paige Robinson? Let's talk about Alana Finley's breakout because she broke out big time. And then getting a transfer like Haley. I mean, she's played huge. I think she had 22 points in in the last game you played, right? Like I said, I'm not trying to slight anyone on that team. Great players all around, but those are the 3 players I wanted to ask you about. Yeah.
I mean, we've said it, from the beginning. We have so many talented kids and that bring different things to the table, and the biggest challenge sometimes as a coach is getting every kid to understand, like, this is what you do well, this is what you bring us. And you're not great at everything, maybe, or you're not the best at everything. So we have a lot of conversations about that and helping kids understand like what they can bring to us. Just a high level kid. I mean, a competitor, a kid that just demands a lot of herself, spends a lot of time in the gym, has some high achieving goals. And she really, I mean, if you think about it, Wayne, like to be in her position is really, really hard. You have a lot of pressure on you when you're the reigning Division II Player of the Year, and she handles it really, really well. She knows and understands that the most important thing is that we win, and that goes to the forefront with it. It's hard, pressure and everything that's thrown at her and a lot of expectations, with it. And then, man, Elena is just, last year, her story is nuts. So Elena, I mean, she's just really stepped up to that next level. She's got a really cool story. So I think, last year when we took over, she was all the way up until the conference tournament. And I'm not kidding. She was the worst practice player on our team. I mean, the worst. And I kept telling, my assistant, I'm like, this kid is not going to make it. Like, she is not going to make it in this program. Like, she was just bad. And I don't know what clicked, but in our conference tournament and regional tournament last year, she kind of started getting it somehow. And when you talk about a kid that went from me saying that last year to a kid this year that I can't hardly take off the floor, whether it's practice or games, it's crazy. And that just goes to reinforce, things we talk about with our players all the time, that everybody gets it at a different time in their career. Everybody's different. Everybody runs their own race. And so, if I would have just given up on her and just stopped coaching her, who knows? I mean, she obviously might not be in the position she's in, and now she's possibly an All-American, really taking our team and helping us take the next level. And then Kaylee Demitz, man, what an addition to our program, and just a kid again that just wants to win, and that's why she came. She had a great career at Pitt State, and she wanted to just compete for a national championship, and has really pressing a lot when Paige was out, because we were asking her to do a lot. Like, hey, we need you to do more. We need you to do this, because we're really struggling with scoring. But now that Paige has came back, has just really let the game come to her. And I bet if I added up, she's shooting 65-70% from the field since Paige has came back, because she's just taking what's given to her, and Paige gets a lot of attention. And so she's definitely taken that role on. So just 3 kids that I think not only are super, super talented, but are just really good, just leaders within our program.
Yeah. And you need leaders because you play in the Midwest region, and as an analyst, I could break things down from an outsider's perspective, look at records, look at the metrics, but what's it like coaching in that region and make your pitch why it's the best in the land?
Yeah, it's nuts, to have 3 teams right now. When we were 32-0, when I was an assistant, we had 3 teams in the top 5 in our region. I mean, that's ridiculous, and now we have 3 teams in the top 10. I mean, it's some good basketball, and from a coach's standpoint, it's disappointing that we might not get the true Elite 8 teams at the Elite 8 because of that. But man, does it make for a fun regional. You love those games. Those are the games you love to play, the high-powered, high-intensity games. It's what you work so hard for. So we're excited about the regional. And I mean, it's going to be some really, really good basketball.
And like we mentioned, you have that special, connection and bond as a Division II player and a coach. So what makes Division II special to you?
Yeah, I love it. And, people ask me sometimes about that. And I have never been at the Division I level, so I don't know. I just have friends that obviously Division I's and contacts in that. But what I love about Division II is just the balance. Again, I'm not saying that Division I doesn't. I don't know. But our kids get a little bit of that balance with basketball, and they get some time off, and but they also work really, really hard at their craft and had the opportunity to be successful at something they're really, really passionate about. And so that's what I really enjoy about it. We get to play for championships. I mean, it doesn't matter. I always say this, whether you're at Division I, Division II, NAI. I mean, you're going to win a national championship, man. Or are you going to feel good? To have the opportunity to play in front of 1,500 fans and have a bunch of family and boosters around, and the opportunity to get a great education, to play for championships. I mean, I think it's an experience that intrigues a lot of kids, and because of that, I think that's why we've had so much success.
Yeah. I mean, you could see that. And definitely, even when I write the articles, the Drury's home arena is always in there as one of the best places to play. And we talked about it with Paige earlier this year. So I know that's a big part of it too. But Coach, you've made it through the easy part of the show. And now we're going to throw you on the D2 Nation hot seat just to close out things with some fun.
Oh, no.
Are you ready?
Give it to me.
All right, Bethany.
Okay. Well, we'll just start easy. I think you might have someone in mind for this. Who's a coach or coaches that you've admired that have impacted your style of coaching?
Yeah. Number 1, Larry Just. He was the first head coach that I worked under, that I was assistant for 4 years. Just an unbelievable guy. And that was at Quincy University. And he eventually got out of college, and then went to high school and won some state championships. Just a great mentor. I think, it's all about that, who mentors you. And I was very, very lucky to have that. I mean, I've had so many along the way, but, even if you talk about Molly Miller and just being around her and learning some of her defensive stuff and some mentoring there with it. My college coach, I still keep in contact with her, and, I learned so many things, whether it's habits, from them. And so I have a lot of great, I think, mentors I'm very blessed with in my life.
Okay. What's the best sports movie of all time?
Ooh, Love and Basketball. I love it.
I knew it was going to be a basketball movie. It was a no question.
Yeah. Absolutely. You know that. I would say that. I would also say, I mean, I love Hoosiers. I always love Hoosiers.
Definitely.
If you have the chance to pick the pregame warm-up mix, what music would you be blasting over?
We're definitely going with 90s. Probably Snoop Dogg, some Eazy-E.
Nice.
Kids would be shocked, but we'd probably go some rap type stuff.
So the Super Bowl halftime show would be reunited in the
100%. My favorite halftime ever.
Nice.
I was trying not to dance, Wayne.
Well, moving on. What's your favorite food?
I would say pizza. I can eat pizza every day, all day, with it, in any kind. Not too picky about stuff.
Nice.
Well, that's good because usually basketball players eat a lot of pizza on the road trips.
Yep. Too much, probably.
What is your favorite binge-worthy Netflix or television show?
Ooh, let's see. I'm really right now into like Yellowstone.
That's such a popular answer.
I know. I've really been into that. I'm looking forward to watching. Is it 1816? What's the pre to that? But I'm looking forward to watching that. There's a pre to it. So, but I haven't had time yet.
Yeah, I got to watch Yellowstone because you're like the third or fourth coach to say that's what they're watching.
So good.
Okay, last question. Ready?
Okay.
If you're able to make it out of the Midwest region, I don't want to jinx anything, but if you're able to make it out of there, how badly do you want another shot at Lubbock Christian?
Oh my gosh, love it, would love it. How cool would it be for us to be in the finals together again? That'd be pretty cool. No, I think that would be. I'd love that just because last year I felt like just being new with the girls and that, and not having a lot of time with COVID, we weren't as prepared as probably we needed to be. And we probably had some things we could have worked on if we had more time together throughout the year to really prepare us, where this year I think we've prepared them for about anything they could see with us. So I'd love that opportunity.
Yeah. It's becoming a nice little postseason rivalry. So I think everybody would, you know? Well, for those of you that are watching, let's just point it out that Coach is not driving, and we really appreciate you in the passenger seat taking some time on your trip right now to talk to us, especially like we said with the GLVC tournament going on the rest of the week too. So we wish you luck and thank you again for joining us.
Thank you guys. Appreciate both you guys.
Yeah, and remember, before we go, DII Nation, we're on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, YouTube, and just about anywhere else you want to listen. Give us a follow, join us on Twitter, and we'll see you next week on the DII Nation.